Welcome back to the Tier 1 podcast. Thank you for joining us again. I'm Harry Palmer. This is season 2, kicking off with my chat with Ryan Charlton. Ryan is a UK precision rifle competitor and very much an early adopter of the precision rifle scene here in the UK. He took the unusual step of travelling to the US to shoot his very first PRS match and got hooked. Now he's helping to grow what is still a very new sport here in the UK, still fairly small, but growing fast, much like in the US. Ryan currently works with Highland Outdoors, which, if you don't know it, is one of the biggest distributors here in Britain, promoting some of the coolest brands in the shooting industry, including Tier 1. We talk about a whole bunch of stuff, including the looming switch to lead-free bullets and the effect that that's likely to have on the shooting sports. And obviously, we cover Ryan's experience in precision rifle competitions, both here and in the USA, shooting matches with some of the world's top competitors, which is exciting stuff. Ryan's a really good bloke. He's got some awesome guns, lots of knowledge, and he does some really cool stuff in the industry. So a big thank you to Ryan for stopping by and chatting with us. If you want to check him out, you can find him on Instagram at the Ryan Charlton. That's at the Ryan Charlton. Check him out. He's got some cool stuff on there, and he's really plugged in with the UK PRS scene. So if you're interested in getting involved in that, you want to find out more about it, go and watch a match or even shoot one. I would say Ryan's a really good point of contact. You can probably reach out to him on there. Okay, that's it. Without any further ado, thanks again for tuning in, and here is my chat with Ryan. When we set this up like this week, and then I texted you yesterday and said, here's some stuff that we could potentially go over. And you messaged me from the hospital. and you said, I'm in the hospital because I've been playing football. And then you just showed me a finger. And it's like, bandaged up. You've got like, is there a lolly stick on one as a splint?
Yeah, so I've got a splint. So after work yesterday, the guys and I got together. The weather's good. So we're lucky at the office. We've got a lot of grass and big open space around us. So we've got our own tiny football nets, and we thought we'd play football. And I don't know how I did it, because we also played a little bit of rugby yesterday too.
Right.
It wasn't until I'd driven home, eaten dinner, thought, about time I had a shower, and realised that my ring finger was floppy at the end.
What?
So it turns out what I'd done is I'd broken sort of a tendon attachment point in my finger, as well as the damaged the tendon. So fingers crossed, with the splint on for 10 to 12 weeks, it'll be healed and ready to go. But in 10 weeks... Well, no.
Wow.
The thing is, in 10 weeks, we've got the IPRF World Championships in France. So it's like, okay, so we're 10 weeks potentially away from going and having the biggest shoot of the year so far. And we've got a bum finger. So, yeah, fingers crossed. What I've got to do is be sensible and not push it. But yeah, it's one of those things, it's when rugby players play football, bad things happen. It happened to me this time, unfortunately.
Oh, I'd serve you right for playing a ladies' sport anyway. And I'm going to cut that out because I'm going to be arrested. Far out. So at least it wasn't your trigger finger, but it's the same hand, right? Your right hand.
It'll be fun. So I plan to get the 2-2 out tomorrow and have a run out with that, see what happens. It's a bit smaller and lighter than like my regular race gun. Yeah. But on Sunday, I'd planned to head over to my rifle builders, head over to the Brock and Norris workshop and chamber up a 6.5 Creedmoor barrel for my hunting rifle.
Nice.
So I've got that, plus some maintenance work to do to some other guns. And yeah, I'll just have to learn to do that one-handed and let Mike take the reins on the lathe.
Oh, I mean, God,
that's no bad thing. He's a god on that thing, so it's good.
Good, excellent. Do you get into do you do gunsmithing yourself then, or is it something you do, like, as an amateur?
I'm fascinated by it. Like, you watch somebody who's competent working a manual lathe,
Yeah.
and like I'll watch Mike work a lot, and he's built every rifle I own,
Okay.
every centerfire rifle. And I've got a 2.2 that he'll be barreling as well. So it'll pretty much soon be every rifle I own Mike would have built.
Yeah.
And you watch somebody who knows exactly what they're doing, the speed, how fast the parts spinning, how fast to feed the cutter in and everything. And there's just something fascinating about I'll have a go and I'll do what I can. And I can turn a barrel, I can thread
Right.
and chamber things, but when you watch somebody like Mike do it, who knows intimately what he's doing, and he's so fast, you see
Yeah.
him and everything's moving, it's great. So, yeah, I'll have a go. And, I'm very lucky that Mike is the kind of person who wants to share his knowledge and his skills.
Hmm.
Um, I'm certainly not a gunsmith, but I can do bits and bobs. It's
So where is Mike? We should shout out to him. Has he got a mention there?
Yeah, you know what? If we're getting shout outs in, yeah, Mike's definitely the first to cross off the list. So,
Excellent.
Brock and Norris Custom Rifles over in Shropshire.
There you go.
Yeah, Mike Norris has built so many accurate and precise rifles for me. It's untrue. And yeah, long may it continue.
Very nice. Very nice. So this is a 6.5 Creedmoor caliber match rifle.
Yeah. No, this is it's
Sorry,
going to be my
hunting rifle, you said.
Yeah, so I've got a 308. It was the first custom rifle I bought, actually.
Right.
I sold my tricked up Land Rover,
Oh
bought a
yeah.
Volkswagen Passat with the change.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I bought this Volkswagen Passat with the change. I then bought this custom rifle, and
Yeah.
it was one Mike had built. It's one of his own actions that he had made, and it's a 308 with an 18-inch barrel. The thing's fantastic. It's absolutely awesome. But with the move towards lead free, and
Yes. That's something we should
knowing,
cover, actually.
I'd love to cover that, definitely.
Yeah.
It's something it's very big over here. It's quite big in the States, in America, in certain states. Lead free is a thing already.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, over here, I as often as I can, I'll go and help a friend of mine on his deer lease down in the southwest, and his game dealers told him he won't take any carcasses that aren't shot with lead free. So if we want an avenue for the deer to go, it's got to be lead free. So he's taken the decision that all the deer shot have to be shot lead free. And
Wow.
the 308's great; it shoots lead free bullets well. But I know the 6.5 Creedmoor. I know the cartridge well. I've been shooting one for about 7 years now,
Okay.
and I've totally changed how this rifle's gone. So it's gone from being in quite a heavy Macmillan stock. I put a carbon fiber and magnesium. That chassis I showed you at the British Shooting Show, the MDT
Yeah.
HMT 26, so
Yeah.
super duper lightweight. And
Is that
I
from the
just
Oryx range, or is that a different?
no, the Oryx is made by MDT, but it's a different
Okay.
company.
Okay.
So it's MDT make the HNT 26, so it's carbon fiber, magnesium. It's like a race car for your rifle.
Wow,
So we're
nice.
putting on Sunday a carbon fiber IBI barrel on there, which will be absolutely awesome. So there's also, because obviously the NRL Hunter is becoming quite a big thing in the US, and I have one eye on. I want a rifle that I can go and take shooting deer, but also, hey, if the NRL Hunter kicks off, I'm set. So that's going to be a cool thing. I'm excited for that rifle. It's going to be great to get it done, get it off the ground, and see what's what.
I think that's sensible, and it seems to be the way it's going. I had a brief call with Travis Shooter, who runs the NRL Hunter. You will know of him, I'm sure. And he was giving a little bit of a background, and I apologize if I'm bastardizing this, Travis. But basically, it was a lot of people were wanting to shoot PRS because they were already hunters, but they didn't want to spend thousands and thousands on a custom rifle. And a custom rifle is way too heavy to go hunting with. And this is kind of the genesis of how NRL Hunter came about. And if anybody doesn't know, it's a lightweight version of PRS, isn't it? So it's very similar stages, set up and everything else, but you can use a hunting rifle.
Yeah,
And there's a weight limit.
you've got the time frame to, you have to find and range the target on the clock and take the shots and hit them. I mean, with what you said about a PRS rifle, a true race rifle. I mean, I love my race rifle. It's like nothing I've ever shot.
Yeah.
But it's a 22-pound.
Yeah. And they get heavier.
Big, heavy 6mm rifle. Yeah, and it's. People have said to me before, "Oh, you wouldn't want to take that stalking." Well, I have. I did. I shot some deer with it. It's it's great, but it's not one for taking up the hill. But they are a bit of a pony. I remember, crikey, a few years ago, Scott Satterley was in the UK, and he was doing some coaching, and he said it was such a shame because he'd come over to shoot the Guardian that was over in Ireland,
right,
and he'd gone out on the hill down in Cornwall, gone out on the hill over in Ireland with some of the guys, and he said it was a shame that his his rifle he bought to shoot the Guardian was such a one-trick pony, because who wants to lug a 20-pound chassis rifle up a hill when actually, if you've got something that's smaller, it's far more useful. And the skills that you need to shoot PRS well, they directly translate to hunting. When you look at a lot of the guys who are great at PRS, particularly in the UK, it's guys with a hunting background. It's, the versatile type of shooting, particularly, you think, especially over here in Great Britain, although we're so much a smaller landmass, well, most of us will shoot from vehicles. So I only learned to shoot left-handed so I could shoot out the driver's window. Because as you're driving down the drive on the farm, if you see a fox, you want to be able to shoot it. And likewise, if you're sat in a high seat after deer, if the deer are appearing on your right-hand side, well, if you can shoot left-handed, it's easier. So, all those things kind of help. And the target acquisition, that comes so much easier if you've a hunting background, because you know how to steer a rifle without looking through the scope. Having spent, about a year ago now, my wife started coming shooting with us and shooting precision rifle. And the hardest thing that we've had for her to learn so far in her shooting career has been target acquisition. And it's so difficult to teach, because you think, well, you just put the gun on something and the target's there, and you have to try and figure out how you'll do it. And that's been that hunting thing in the NRL Hunter. I think it's awesome, and watching that grow the way it has in the past 12, 18 months since it was announced is amazing. It's a real shame the NRL Race Gun series has ended, along with the Border Wars series, because my first ever precision rifle match was a 2-day NRL national match. And that was the weekend after I tried precision rifle shooting for the very first time.
What? That's bold.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was...
okay. What did you shoot? You presumably you didn't have a custom gun at that point. Did you use that hunting rifle?
So I borrowed... So sort of going back... really good friend of mine, Matt Hornback. He was working for our American sister company, Legacy Sports, out of Reno. Matt and I share a lot of views, and we got chatting on email and on social media. And he says, "Hey man, you'll love shooting this precision rifle game. Come over, stay with me. We'll hang out and we'll go." So March 2019, I flew out to Reno, walked out of Reno Tahoe Airport, met Matt Hornback for the very first time, and we hit it off straight away. So I borrowed Matt's spare rifle, which was a 6.5 Creedmoor Hauer, using Hornady American Gunner ammunition.
Okay.
And we went out into the desert by him the following day, zeroed the rifle, got some dope, and he's like, "Okay, this is kind of how it all works. We'll do this." And I was like, head was blown. So we then drove from Reno over to Idaho, and we shot the 2019 Gem State standoff. And that was when I first met Travis. Travis, if you're listening, hey buddy. So we're in this. They got a side stage and they're watching, and I sort of fumbled my way through the side stage, and we were laughing at the big English dude, and we all went off for barbecue food. And Travis like, "Hey, you've got to teach us some English drinking games." So we shot the match, and that was awesome.
Who better to us than a rugby player, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the match went exactly as you'd expect. I mean, I was drawn first on the first stage. So I was like, oh, a big bag of nerves.
Jesus.
The guy, I squatted with some awesome people. They got me through the 2 days.
Was the first stage a team stage, or was it you were solo up there?
Solo on my own. Just got my Kestrel. I was like, okay, fine. And struggled, fumbled my way through. And all I wanted to do was just set a benchmark, have a great time, which I did.
Okay.
So afterwards, we were at the awards banquet, and it was super cool. We're on court. The NRL had bought a keg of Coors Light, which is kind of what you'd wean babies on and minis at the rugby club.
For sure.
And we got into these English drinks. We got into playing. I don't know if you've ever played finger spoof, where you put your finger on the glass. I'll teach you next time I see you at the show. It's one for you and Craig.
Right.
And we were playing Yeehaw, and also. It was such a fun night because the guys had never played anything. I was reliving my youth at the rugby club. Sure. Everybody had an super awesome time. And that was kind of, that whole weekend has sort of been the foundation of like my whole precision rifle shooting, like
you got the bug.
Few years so far. The bug bit so hard that weekend. So I came back, it's like, right, silencers coming off. I'm adding weights to my rifle. I want a muzzle brake. I want an arc rail. And so 2019, the Precision Rifle League was founded in the UK.
Right.
And that was the first sort of proper precision rifle competition series in the UK. And obviously, working where I do with the distributors for Tier 1 in the UK and Europe, Hauer throughout UK and Europe, and other things. So what I did was I spoke to the boss man, and he's been awesome from day one. The support from the guys at Highland Outdoors has been amazing.
Yeah, so I was going to point out, said, Highland Outdoors is there. You work for them. They're actually an Australian company, aren't they? Originally.
Yeah, so we're the owner of we're part of a bigger group, and our bigger group is Australian owned. Right. We're probably the largest privately owned group of firearms wholesalers in the world. The turnover is massive. It's phone number size. And the owner, John, who owns Highland Outdoors, he's Australian.
Yeah.
We got Steve, who heads up the operation, another Aussie. So Ashes or Autumn International Rugby. It's always a fun
the tour
time.
Coming up. It was a 3-0 whitewash last time, I just want to point out. So the Aussies have got it.
They don't care. It's ladies cricket now is the biggest sport in Australia because they're winning that, I think.
We'll cut that out. Don't worry, you won't get this.
But yeah, so I said to the guys, look, this is starting. It's blown up in America. Like precision rifle from a growth perspective and bringing active participants into rifle shooting has been fantastic. And the guys, they're aware of it. They saw it. And what I did was I said, I want to enter the factory division, which at the time had a £1,250 limit for your rifle.
Okay.
£1,250 limit for your rifle scope. So fits in nicely with the Howers as an entry-level rifle. So I did that, and using the things I'd learned in America and video calls with Matt, video in training and stuff. And I picked it up very quickly. He's had a lot of support to help me get there. And with the factory Hauer, won the factory division, and I think I was inside the top 10 overall first year out. Fantastic.
Nice.
Never having shot a competitive centerfire match before then, not even being a member of a club, it was pretty cool. Yeah. So the hunting background helped a lot with that. And then we got into throughout the winter some 2-2 bits and bobs. Unfortunately, then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And the UK has been through what took the US precision rifle scene probably 8 to 10 years to go through the growing pains and the politics and the bickering. Well, the UK managed to fit all of that into 2 years.
Okay.
So all of that. It's been fun. There's always going to be these issues. Regardless. The main thing is that keep the shooting the main thing and what's right for everybody shooting. And we're through that now. So we've got the GBPRA were founded early last year. It's probably February last year. So the GBPRA is the Great British Precision Rifle Association. And that was founded for the sole purpose of selecting a team of British shooters to go to the World Championships in France and represent Team GB. So they've held a series of qualifying matches, which has been great. They held them at Orion Firearms Training over in Wales. Great venue. So they've had they've selected the team, and we're all ready. I think we've got the first Zoom meeting next week to discuss the travel arrangements and stuff.
Nice.
So that'll be cool.
Are you on the team, just to clarify?
Yeah, I made it.
Nice.
So I came pretty late to the party. So I shot my first qualifier in October, and you've met me, you've seen me at the shows. We hung out at the British Shooting Show. If I'm laughing and joking, having a good time, I'm probably going to shoot well. And there's some hilarious pictures from that of just laughing and joking, really relaxed, and things were going well. Yeah, I won that, and I shot great. It was awesome. So then I missed the December one because it was the work Christmas party and Aussie-owned company. You don't want to miss that.
Fair enough.
And shot the one in February, which was the weekend before the British Shooting Show.
So what's the format? Is it? Do you have, how many stages are there in these qualifiers? Does it follow? Does it replicate what you're going to do in France at the World Championships, or is it totally different?
Kind of. I mean, it's a one-day match, so it was 9 or 10 stages, give or take. 9 or 10 stages, usual format, point for every shot you hit. Whoever wins, whoever puts the highest score in wins. They had some really unique, very unique and challenging. I've never shot from a noose before. I don't particularly want to again. Driving rain in Wales. High winds, and it's like, we're going to shoot from a noose. Thanks, guys. I like making noise, but hey, let's. So that was cool. So I mean the guys, they did really well. They never intended to hold matches. Again, the whole politics side of it forced their hand. They needed to do something to select a GB team. They held some matches which they did not want to do, and fair play. There's some guys there, and I'll single them out. Christian Westcoff has done an amazing job, as has Tim Brush, who stood in as match director, and both those guys have sacrificed their places that they booked on to go and shoot, so they can run the match and we can all go shoot. So those guys have been awesome, along with Simon and the rest of the committee. They've done a great job. So we have the GBPRA, and we also have the Precision Rifle Series UK, which started August 2021. And these guys, I love what the guys are doing here. So they're affiliated with the Precision Rifle Series globally.
Right. And who runs that? Is that headquartered out of America?
No, it's almost like a UK franchise.
Right. Okay.
So it's the same as the PRS.
Because in America, so there's probably people listening who have absolutely no idea what any of these acronyms mean, and they're phasing out now and blacking out. So if we just take a second, PRS, Precision Rifle Series, NRL, National Rifle League. These are two competing organizations in America. Are they competing? They're separate, definitely.
separate organizations. And I think a lot of it is geographical, with
Okay.
America being such a big space. That's
Yeah.
my understanding, and I'm more than happy
Okay.
to be corrected on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we uneducated Brits understand it, that's how they roll. They run, and they're kind of like the big players. Individuals can run. Obviously, anybody could run a precision rifle match within reason, but these are the leagues. And if you want to compete and you want to win the big prize, you compete in one of these.
Basically, yeah.
In the UK, we have our own version, which is GBPRA.
So you have the GBPRA, who they never intended to run matches. Right. They kind of had to get a team to qualify.
Yeah, okay.
Basically, yeah. And they're now running some team matches, which look pretty cool.
Okay.
Then you have the Precision Rifle Series UK.
Okay.
And they're running their own league, and the idea is they'll have a finale in the UK in October. Yeah. Then in November, the winners of, I think it's going to be the top three UK shooters will go off to the US to compete in the US finale, which would be super cool for the guys who manage that.
And are you aiming for that? Is that something you're targeting?
I'd absolutely love to. I mean, I've finger permitting. Yes. I've taken on a new role at work as well, which is massively eating into my shooting time because, as my wife tells me, I've now got a grown-up job. So I need to make sort of focus on that side more. But no, I'd love to. I'll be practicing as hard as everybody else, and if I can put myself in the mix, then fantastic. The main thing for me is the PRF's UK guys. That was the first match that Andrea, my wife, ever shot. So they had their first match back in August. Okay. She'd started just coming shooting with me on the farm back in May. Then with some of the Royal Marines precision rifle team, I took her out of our little practice paddock and we went down to Devon, and it was the first time she'd ever shot a target that was further than 300 yards away. Okay, and with my 223 practice rifle, and she's zapping an 800-yard target. It's like, this is really fun.
Yeah.
And she slowly got into it. So I bought a shorter buttstock for the chassis on my spare rifle, and she competed with that for the first time. And she was one of, I think there was 25 people shot. There was 6 or 7 people who had never shot precision rifle, had never shot a match. And every single one of those people who went up to Scotland, to Gardner's Guns, and shot that match has come back and they've loved it.
Yeah.
And there's a team of 3 guys, and Andy, Richard, and James, who run it. They're doing a fantastic job. And we, at Highland Outdoors, we support them along with Tier 1 in the UK. There's prizes on the prize table.
Okay.
We have staff going. I've got an open invite with any of the guys from Tier 1 in the UK to come along.
Oh, very nice.
And the community spirit that they're fostering there is brilliant. As an example, on the first one, first match, there was a side shoot to win a pair of Zeiss binoculars. Zeiss are their headline sponsor, and they're everywhere. Guy won some Zeiss binos. He said, "You know what? I've got binos." Grabbed a first-time shooter, new shooter who'd not long had his FAC. It was only the 3rd time that this guy had shot his rifle, and he was given a pair of Zeiss binos.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all, it's awesome, and you're seeing these guys coming back and they're having these awesome experiences and shooting their guns how to do it, and it's making you smile. So those guys, they're doing things great, and it's really good to see that from.
That's good to hear, because there is an air. Okay, so if I'm looking at this as an outside observer, which effectively I am, and you look at the US precision rifle scene, and you can just through social media, you can dive really deep into the personalities who are shooting these matches. You see all about them. You can watch the matches. I think some of you can watch live, but the sense you get is that this is quite professional. These guys are very serious about their craft, whatever you want to call it. And you know, it's intimidating. And you think for a new shooter, that's potentially a barrier to getting involved in the sport, which is the opposite of what you want, really. You want big influx of people.
Totally.
And then on the other hand, you've got guys you just talked about, and you mentioned the Guardian. You shot the Guardian in Ireland, and we sponsored a Guardian in the US, and their matches are I don't know, they're very friendly. You know, they're very open. They're designed to be friendly. So it's serious competition, but really, really friendly, open, and welcoming to new shooters. So I think
it's getting that balance. Balance is really hard. I mean, there's no question that anybody who goes there wants to do as well as they can.
Of course.
But also, you know, there's, as shooters, especially in the UK, we're such a small community, and we're welcoming. The last PRS match we shot, there was two more first-time shooters, Nick and Daisy, another husband and wife team, and Nick had won. He was shooting they were sharing Nick's 223.
Okay.
And I'd been helping him in the run up to this with getting his load dialed in and figuring out Strelok and getting all of his dope and stuff. And it was so great to finally meet him, and it was great to see. You know, Andrea, my wife, is lending his wife kit. I'm lending him kit. We're sharing Haribos on the firing line and stuff. Yeah. And we need that to happen. Yeah, but you know what? As soon as it's your turn to get up and shoot, when you're on deck, it's like, okay, switch on. Now's the time just to focus on what you're doing, and then you can get on. I think it's a great ethos that, you know, you look at some of the top guys in the UK. You know, you've got Rory and Daniel Gibbons out of Ireland. Joe Pask, Tom Rice, Ben McElwain, you know, Alex Whitey, and a lot of the great shooters. I mean, Jack Crawford, who's the captain of the Marines team, is an awesome example. He'll spot for guys zeroing, and they will all take the time to help out the new shooters in the squad, because it's like precision rifles in its infancy here.
Sure.
Everybody's learning, even the experienced guys. Well, I'm classed as an experienced guy. I've been doing it for 3 years. Yeah. Which is, you know, you go over to the US and there's guys been doing it for a decade. And prior to that, they've got, you know, 20 years of 3-gun and everything else under their belt. So it's everybody sort of learning, and it's all evolving as it goes. And it's really cool. It's great. It's not to say that there's not been the difficulties and, you know, all the dramas that come with shooting always attracts. But it's been a really cool journey. Seeing if you're able to stand back and just watch it unfold, it's like, okay, this is basically what happened in America 5 years ago. Right. Let's just keep our heads down, keep shooting. And I know from the outside it can appear intimidating, but having jumped in at the deep end at a 2-day national level match in the US, the guys there who were in my squad and around me, they couldn't have been more helpful. And the same goes for everybody who was there. You know, I had people coming up to me who I recognized from social media, like, hold on, this was your first match and you flew all the way over from England for it? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's many people who've done that.
It was cool, you know, because we don't obviously have that. We didn't have that option back home at the time, and it was super cool just to dive in both feet and just go for it. And that'd be my advice to anybody.
Just get stuck in.
Yeah.
So on that, because it's a question I wanted to ask, but we might as well cover it now as we're on it. If you're a new shooter, let's say you've got your FAC, you've got a rifle, but you've mainly been, you know, bench rest shooting, or maybe you've been hunting. How do you make that transition to PRS? How do you actually get involved? Do you go straight to a match? Do you start practicing? And how would you do that?
First thing I would say is go to a match. Okay. You can practice and do as much as you want, but nothing prepares you for shooting a match like shooting a match. And you know, there's a great saying: is you don't know what you don't know. And until you've come across hearing the beep of the timer, daft as it sounds, that gets the adrenaline going. And as long as you're safe, your rifle's zeroed, and you've got a good idea as to what your dope is. Ideally, you want your dope verified. So if you're not seeing it, it's not safe. Goes back to the first point.
Right.
Dive in and go for it. There are training days. I know the GBPRA put training days on. Sometimes the day before a match, sometimes the day after a match. In August, because the bulk of the shooters will be away in France or having to deal with France, the PRS UK guys, they're holding a training day over at Pro Shoot in Wales. So there are some training days. We don't have a massive club scene, but one thing that we're starting to see more, excuse me, and I think will be the next biggest area of growth for rifle shooting in the UK is 2-2 matches.
Yeah.
Because we're such a small island.
Yeah.
A 2-2 doesn't have that massive danger area.
No.
Doesn't have. Most of us are running suppressed, so there's not the noise problem.
Yeah.
And I think 2-2s are the perfect fit for the UK. So 2-2 competitions at the moment, you have Gardner's Guns up in Scotland run their Little Sis match on their 100 and 200 meter range.
Okay.
You have the NRL 22 at Silverstone Shooting Centre, which, having shot every match bar one of those in the first series, that's fantastic. Silverstone's an amazing place, amazing facility. It's like going to a playground. There's a proper kitchen, proper toilets, and a fire for December when it snows. It's awesome. Definitely. I know there's other precision rifle matches going on under the GBPRA's, I think it's the PR22 banner. Okay. So they're going off in the southwest. So I think you've got Pro Shoot. There is another Welsh club doing it, and I can't remember. I'm awfully sorry. There's also Josh Martin down in Cornwall is putting on his C2 smugglers rifle matches, which you can find all of these on social media.
Right. Okay.
And
it's going to be the next question.
2-2 I think is that there is no better gateway drug into shooting than a 2-2.
Without a doubt. I love 2-2. I love it. That's such a satisfying click. You know, it's everything that's good about shooting in a little package, you know. Little easy to access. It's
fantastic.
And it's cheaper is the other thing.
Yeah, it's, you know, we'll go and there's a few of us at work who are sort of active participants in shooting, NRL 22 especially, and we've effectively turned a portion of the Highland Outdoors car park into our own 2-2 precision rifle range.
God, that's
and we'll have car park rimfire. It's awesome. So that's, I think 2-2, when you look at the accessibility, is probably your ideal place to get started, because there's no recoil to worry about. It's closer ranges, and a 2-2 will teach you a lot about reading the wind and understanding, you know, a ballistic trajectory, you know, ballistic curve, because you're going to have to hold under, you're going to have to hold over, and if you're holding over 2 mils to shoot 100 yards, well, you know, 2 mils with something like a 6 mil or a 6.5 Creedmoor, that's going to be your 450 yard adjustment. Yet with a 2-2 rimfire, you're doing that inside of 100 yards. Most rifle clubs, people who are members of clubs, have 100 yards.
Yep.
And, you know, most hunters will have access to a place they can zero at 100 yards as well. So it's a great place to practice.
Yeah.
That I think will be the next big growth area. But for any of the organizations, they're all very active on social media, because that's where the bulk of it comes from, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody loves talking about shooting, and the more people that we can get coming out, making noise, dinging steels, shooting paper, whatever, the better. You know, it doesn't matter.
And can people show up with their non-competition rifles and have a go, or are they going to be laughed at?
Not at all. At Silverstone, we got everything from guys with full-blown custom chassis rimfires for the NRL 22 to one of the club members who got his CZ, which had got camo tape on, and he'd still got his night mount for his night vision at the back of him.
Okay.
My 2.2, it's been my vermin rifle for as long as I've had it. That's what it's done, and it's not in a chassis. I bolted an Arca rail to it and made it a little bit heavier. Put a 20 MOA monomount on it too, so I can get more elevation.
Nice.
And that's, you don't need anything. I always say, if my dad wanted to come along and shoot this with his old Bruno, he could, because we've just got to hold over and do it. Everybody, there's 2 sessions for the NRL 22, so it's a cool format how Silverstone do it. So for the NRL 22 in the UK, there'll be a squad of 10 of us, and we'll shoot one stage at a time. So everybody will cycle through. So we'll be spotting, and we can lend gear and stuff. And they'll split this over 2 sessions. So have a morning session, afternoon session. I like shooting in the mornings, but I also like spotting, watching targets get hit, and shouting impact at people I've never met before. So I love to sit around and hang around and spot for the guys in the afternoon, and I'll lend gear out, just to get a whole day. If I'm going out, I may as well go out for the whole day of it if I can do. So having that has been great, because you've had guys who've got all of the gear, and Silverstone is best known as a practical rifle stage. So there's a lot of semi-autos. So you have guys there shooting fully tricked up 2.2 semi-autos. Super cool, because it's not what I've seen before, and I'm really keen to have a go at some of the practical shooting they do there as well.
Yeah, that does look cool. Very dynamic.
It's a bit of running around, but I'll cope with that for a short time. As long as I get to shoot at the end, it's fine.
That's it. Yeah, it's I don't know if they do a full Taran tactical style thing down there, but it looks cool. I've watched some some practical shotgun, and it looks fun. Need to have a go. So
definitely high shot count. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you can put plenty of lead down. So there's 2 things there. 2 things I want to cover. One, lead free. We talked about that earlier, and then we'll come on to what you're running on your gun at the moment. So if we just cover off lead free,
awesome.
What's this going to do to things like NRL 22? Yeah, how is copper? Because it's going to be a copper bullet, isn't it?
Well, nothing's gone through yet. So for people who are listening outside of the UK and people who are listening to this further down the line, so right now there's a health and safety executive public consultation going on, looking into the impact lead-based ammunition has from a health and safety perspective, how that interacts with the environment around where it's used. And there's been a big push towards lead-free ammunition in game shoots, and also for deer. excuse me. Also for deer entering the food chain. So steel shot and shotguns. It's not an area I'm involved in. It's not something I know a vast amount about. It's similar with lead-free rifle bullets. I haven't had to use them, so I've not really researched it. But from when you look at sort of one of the most popular sort of first deer rifles in the UK, it's the minimum required is a 243. It makes 1,700 foot-pounds of energy, and it has a 6mm bore diameter, which means it's legal for shooting larger deer in Scotland. Now, that's all well and good with something like a 100 grain Sierra Game King, nozzle partition, whatever. It makes it meets the bare minimum requirements. But when you look at a 100 grain lead-free bullet, it's much, much longer. So there's a lot of 243 Winchesters out there in the UK deer shooting world that have a 1 in 10 twist. They won't stabilize the lead-free bullets because they're much longer. It's from that perspective, it's sort of changed the entry to the game. People have either got to rebarrel their existing guns, or their existing guns are obsolete, and the 243 has now become a Fox in caliber overnight. When you look at it from a steel plate perspective, the lead-free bullets slightly more prone to ricochets.
Okay.
Because it's a more robust projectile. Exactly, they don't deform in the same manner that lead cup and core bullets do. Because of that, they also damage. They're more prone to damaging the steels as well.
Yeah.
But looking at it from 100-yard gallery range with a 2.2, if you're shooting a 35-yard target with a lead bullet, it's going to flatten. It'll flatten. It'll hit the floor. As the plate swings. With a copper bullet, if that hits a spike that's holding the gong head on, where's it going to go? Is it going to come back at you? There's a lot of unknowns, and one of the most participated sort of parts of shooting in the UK is airgun shooting, which all use lead pellets. What could potentially that do to airgun shooting, which again is another fantastic gateway. I mean, I've been speaking with Brian Sampson from Doncaster Airgun Centre, and he had a small trial last weekend of indoor PRS with an air rifle out to 50 yards.
Oh yeah, sounds cool.
Which that'll be super cool, and He's wanting to push that. He's an indoor facility. So on the current proposals, it wouldn't affect him, but how will it affect outdoor air rifle clubs? And there's a lot of air rifle clubs out there. So my personal view is the science doesn't back it up yet, because there's Norway and other Scandi countries move towards lead-free and are now moving back.
Okay.
And that's based on safety, increased safety risks, so ricochet and bullets passing through, along with animal welfare. So because the copper monolithics and copper bullets don't deform like a lead cup and core bullet, are animals suffering for longer? Because let's face it, anybody who's going to pull the trigger on an animal wants it to die instantly.
Of course.
It doesn't always happen, but if there's something within your control that will encourage a clinical humane death to an animal, you do it. Simple as that. Yeah. So there's a lot of things to look at. And one thing I would do is encourage anybody who's involved in shooting sports in the UK to read the public consultation and respond. The only way that anything will happen in the shooting community's favour is if a lot of the shooting community respond, and the response is.
We should link that. We should link that in the.
It'll be on the .gov. Be on the .gov website. I'll dig it out. I'll fire that over to you. But I think it's really important. Anybody involved in the shooting sports responds to it.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're looking at it from a byproduct point of view, from hunting or game shooting, if pheasants from game shooting are easier to sell because they've been shot with lead-free shot, fantastic. There's a lot of waste there. Okay. If deer carcasses being shot with lead-free are easier to sell and introduce to the food chain, and can introduce the wider public to game meat and venison because they've been shot with lead-free, it's fantastic. I don't think it's for everybody.
Yeah.
If you're just shooting 2 or 3 deer yourself for your own consumption, I don't think anybody should be forced to go lead-free.
No.
But we have to consider the wider impact of everything we do.
I mean, it's good to hear the pros. I mean, don't mean to jump in there, but it's because there's obvious cons, or there's obvious reasons why we would, as shooters, object to going lead-free. But maybe there are some pros, like you said, introducing more of the shot meat into the actual national diet. I mean, I don't know. Is that why people don't eat much venison and game? I don't know. It wouldn't put me off, but maybe it is.
I mean, I don't shoot a lot of deer, but when I do, I'll share. The neighbours. I'll always offer it to the neighbours, and the first thing they'll say is, "How do you cook venison? I've never had it."
There you go. Yeah, and people are just not familiar with it, are they?
this is it. You know, when you start to look at it that way, we know our local estate, the keeper's a good pal of mine, and what he's taken to doing is any excess pheasants, he takes them to the local butcher and he has pheasant bangers made.
Right.
Well, as soon as a pheasant sausage,
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody wants pheasant sausages,
It's very
and
accessible,
venison burgers. I mean, most of my family first tried venison having venison burgers.
Yeah.
A pal of mine is a butcher, and give him a deer carcass, he will give you a tray of some of the best tasting burgers ever.
Nice.
And it's a great way to introduce it. And I think there's still some. Britain's a very traditional country. We've got a fantastic heritage, and there is an association with shooting pheasants and shooting deer being very much an upper class, and it's a hobby for the aristocrats.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of people will turn their noses up at pheasant and venison because of that. But break that down, introduce it as burgers and sausages rather than steaks and dressed birds, and it suddenly becomes. Who you think venison at the minute? Game dealers are paying about £1 a kilo,
right? Okay,
so 50 pence a pound. If you could offer in the supermarket, even if it was £3 a kilo for free range organic meat, it would fly off the shelves.
But we're talking about, we can't get enough protein, we can't get enough food generally, we'll all have to start eating insects. But we're not eating pheasant that's getting shot. We're not eating venison, it's out there.
It's a real interesting subject. Yeah, and especially I think certain parts in the southeast, like around Essex, where there's a lot of arable farming,
right,
and you have huge herds of fallow deer,
right,
and those deer are going to eat more than the rabbits hopping about, and that's again when we're at a time when we're looking at reducing food miles and things. Well, let's look after the food that's grown locally, and if controlling deer damage to crops and woodland, whatever in certain places helps with that, then why not? Because
is this being driven? And sorry for anyone who's getting super bored about the political angle we've just taken, but is this initiative, is it being driven or handled in any way by people who are familiar with shooting or familiar with, like, you're a farmer, I take it, as well, or your family of farmers?
No, not at all. I'm in a rural area, and growing up playing rural rugby teams.
Yeah, okay, but you know a fair bit about the countryside. It gives that, is this something? I guess what I'm saying is this something that's being laid down by some stuffy people in Westminster, or is it something that's being consulted on by people who actually know what they're talking about? Or is this a reason why shooters need to get involved and get on this public consultation?
So this is me personally. The lead-free is definitely being driven by the game dealers. Because it makes their product more marketable. But this is also the same group of people who encourage head and neck shooting of deer because they got a higher meat yield. Whether the game dealers should be driving that, that's a topic for another time. But with the, when you look at this current consultation being driven by the health and safety executive, it's everybody remembers the REACH problems, which is REACH is legislation in the UK and Europe that controls chemicals, and REACH meant that REACH is the reason that we can't have Varget or Hodgdon 4350 or all of the best reloading powders that our friends in America use, because they contain chemicals that aren't allowed within the EU anymore. And it's looking at potentially lead-based ammunition could be banned in the UK. And my personal belief is there's not the science behind it.
Yeah.
It's not a sound basis. There's not a sound basis to make that decision.
Yeah. It's going to have far-reaching consequences, basically.
It'll be massive. I mean, where do you draw the line? Because if you're going to say, right, lead ammunition being introduced to the environment is no good. Okay. So you've got people then, worst case scenario, shooters move to lead-free bullets. Lead-free, there are some excellent lead-free bullets, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
And if you've got shooters who, if you're shooting deer, foxes, whatever, being ethical is everything. Yeah, and if you're reducing the margin for error in sort of an ethical shot, that's not great for anybody. But also, if we're then considering, well, there's either larger pieces of the bullet or an entire bullet that is going to pass through an animal, where does that stop? And like I said before, 2-2 is great for the UK because we're such a small island.
Yep.
Well, what we don't want is big chunks of copper bouncing around because we're a small island. Yep. You know, most of the places a lot of us shoot have footpaths, roads nearby, and there are a lot of ranges. So there's a lot of private and public ranges in the UK that don't allow copper monolithic bullets because the range safety template doesn't allow it. Yeah. Then what happens, because we've spoken a lot about hunting, but if you're a target shooter and your range says no copper monolithic bullets, no lead-free bullets, where are you going to target shoot?
It's another nail in the coffin for the shooting sports, really, isn't it? Because these places won't necessarily adapt. They'll just lose their membership or...
Exactly. I mean, you know, you look at somewhere like Bisley, that's some very expensive land. You could build houses in Surrey that far outweigh any income generated from Bisley Shooting Centre, and likewise in a lot of places. You know, there's ranges will go up to in Scotland, and you'll have shooters in there on a Friday and Saturday night, and the local hotels will just be people who've gone there to go and shoot, because well, you don't want to go and walk in Scotland in December when it's cold and wet and dark. Sure. And, you know, it's the same in parts of Wales, yet we're shooters and we're all daft enough to go and take our pride and joy out and get it soaking wet to go shoot. Exactly. So it's it could genuinely be the biggest threat to shooting within the UK, which is why, you know, like I said before, I would absolutely encourage anybody involved in shooting to read the public consultation. And it's a big document. There's a lot going on. Read it a few times and consider your responses. You know, consider writing to your MP. And
don't just come across like a loony, because it's easy for them to write that off and ignore your opinion.
A sensible, considered response. I mean, there are pros and cons, you know, as we've discussed in traditional lead and copper cup and core bullets versus lead-free bullets or copper monolithics. But it's weighing it up. What's the greater good? And, you know, genuinely, if there's a way of preventing it, then great. I mean, I know there's air rifle clubs who have their courses laid out in some beautiful woods, and I've seen air rifle targets with wooden boxes around them to catch the frag from the pellets, which stops the lead going on the floor. And, you know, every 6 months or so they'll sweep them out, and the lead will be disposed of, which is great. How you do that on a full bore range, I don't know. Hard ox target catches or something, who knows? But it's currently probably the biggest threat to shooting within the UK, and it's been a major topic because there's been a lot of push towards it, and some of our own shooting organisations have pushed it, and it's almost like turkeys voting for Christmas. Like, hold on, there's pros and cons.
Yeah, I'm not really.
It's not.
Again, I'm not an expert on the subject. I haven't read the public consultation. But if I look at, I'm a member of a target shooting club, and during lockdown, they really struggled for those 2 years to stay open, to keep the membership coming. But they got through. But there were many other clubs that didn't, and they just shut down through that period, and they have yet to reopen. The problem is when you have one of those big events that comes along, and this is a big event, many of those clubs won't be able to adapt. Something will prevent it. They won't have the money, or the membership won't want to bother anymore, and it will just gradually phase out. And then we lose shooters, and we lose that part of the sport, or we lose some of the size of the sport.
Ultimately, it's, none of us want that. So let's say that I'm undecided. I see the good side of going lead free, and I also see the risks of going lead free to sort of enjoying what I do. I'd love to see some strong science for either argument that can back things up, because a lot of what's mentioned looks at lead poisoning. Well, copper's a poisonous metal as well.
Right. Okay.
If you're shooting deer in forestry, or you think the best way to kill a tree is you bang copper nails into it.
Yeah.
Kills the tree.
Sure.
So if I shoot a deer and the bullet ends up in a tree on forestry land, well, I've probably just killed a tree.
Yeah. It's sort of like not quite the solution, is it? Like we all want game to be more widely consumed. We don't want meat waste. We don't want to shrink the shooting sport. There must be something that both sides can sort of do or come together and do that doesn't damage one or the other.
There has to be a happy medium. It's just finding
that's the word
I'm definitely not an expert on it. I have my own opinions and my own experiences, and I rely heavily on. I'm lucky. I'm exposed to a lot of professional users who use lead free and other stuff, and it's interesting. I'm always fascinated hearing this, because anything sort of to do with exterior ballistics and terminal ballistics, I find it fascinating how different things affect it. But this is one to really sit down and ponder, and the link Harry will put in the comments below, I'm sure.
Yeah. I promise I won't forget, but if I do, email me. Good. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Okay, well, that was political. Sorry for anyone who switched off, but I did think it was actually worth covering, because it's going to affect everyone. So if we go back to
definitely
PRS a little bit here.
Yes.
And I'm also conscious, actually, we've gone over the hour. So
wow.
Just flail around like a man who needs a beer when you've had enough. And we'll call it a day. Really quickly, what are you running on your competition gun at the moment? Do you have a different training rifle? I think you do. And if so, how do they differ and why?
Okay, so I have my main race rifle is a Howrah Action. Again, Mike at Brock and Norris has done untold amounts of work to it. Everything's been true. The bolt face has been bushed. I've lightened the trigger. Triggers are something I'm quite good at. Okay. So my main race rifle has in fact, both my training rifle and my race rifle are basically identical, just different calibers. Okay. So Howrah Action, Mike's waved his magic wand over both of them. My race rifle is a 647 caliber. I shoot 115 grain Nosler RDFs out of it, and I actually designed the chamber reamer specifically to shoot that bullet, and it does it really well. They're both in MDT chassis. So I have my 647 race rifle in a MDT ACC. Yep. I have an identical 223 Ackley in an MDT ACC. They're different colors. Both have 6-hour Tango 6 scopes on. Okay. Both have tier 1 monomounts.
Very nice.
With accessory rails on the side, because that side accessory rail is a great place to put your thumb.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, good point. Yeah,
and both of those rifles are They're great. They are basically identical bar the color.
Yeah.
And the 223 Ackley, it's a 1 in 7 twist barrel, and that shoots 85 grain Nosler RDFs. Okay. So ballistically, it's like a 308, but with less powder, less noise, less recoil, and it just allows me. Again, if we go back to the UK being a small island, a 223 is pretty quiet. You put a moderator or suppressor on the end of it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't disturb the neighbours, and then get some good practice in, and it's cheap to run.
Yeah,
it's a cool thing.
Nice, very nice. What trigger do you use?
So they both use the standard Hauer triggers, and I've completely rebuilt them with. All the surfaces have been polished.
Right.
I've shortened the first stage on both of them, and they both have had different spring sets fitted to make them lighter. I know Trigger Tech have a trigger in the pipeline, and Mark from Trigger Tech, if you listen, I'd love to test that for you at some point.
There we go. What an offer. Free testing.
Cool. Mark's a cool guy. We represent Trigger Tech in the UK and Europe as well. And I've got Trigger Tech triggers on all of my custom actions as well. So that's pretty cool.
Very nice. We'll have to try and get him on a podcast. I think we might be lucky enough to speak to somebody from Timney coming up, which would be good.
They're great. They're a great team over at Timney.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know them very well, but I hope, as a team, but they seem open to a chat. So let's see how we go.
Fantastic.
Okay, so a couple of rifles there. Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
I'll cut you off.
No, one of the questions that you'd sort of primed me for was what would be my dream rifle.
Yes. Please, go on.
So this year I was 40. Yeah. And a couple of years ago, I decided.
Sorry.
Hey, thank you. Joke. I moisturize. So a couple of years ago, I decided I'd build for my 40th birthday as a present for myself my dream rifle.
Nice.
So I actually own my dream rifle. I don't shoot it. So I had a Defiance Deviant Action made.
Okay.
The serial number is my initials and date of birth. It's stunning. Sat in an MDT ACC chassis, IBI barrel, SIG Tango 6, Tier 1 monomount. The chassis is Cerakoted rose gold, and that is Andrea, my wife's rifle.
Okay.
She shoots my dream rifle. Her first rifle is my dream rifle. And in the time it took from ordering it to sort of getting it here, because it was a 18-month lead time for the personalized serial number.
Wow.
Andrea had started coming shooting with me, and she really enjoys it, and it's great. So
nice. I should think so too.
I wanted her to have a rifle.
Yeah.
I wanted her to have a rifle to get stuck in.
Yeah.
And on Christmas Day, she knew I was going to build her a rifle, and she's a teacher. I'd said, look, school holidays, we'll have a rifle sorted for you. And hopefully, there's no hopefully, she's stopping teaching this year because she's retiring come July.
Right.
And so on Christmas Day, sort of opening the presents, and she opens up a box, and it's a muzzle brake. And then she opens up another box, and it's a Trigger Tech trigger.
Yeah,
and then she opens up a long, thin thing. That's her barrel. Then she opens up chassis, and it's like, hold on a minute. It's like, so basically I'm going to build you a rifle as a Christmas present. And the chassis had been Cerakoted rose gold. And she's loving it. She's doing really well. And because that rifle means so much to me, it means a lot to her. So she'll dry fire. She's putting the practice in. She's doing really well. So that's my dream rifle. I have it, but I don't use it because Mrs. Charlton shoots it instead. She shoots it amazingly. So It's great watching her do it. She did point out, actually, coming back from the last shoot, it's like, this is like me learning to drive in a Ferrari, isn't it? The best analogy I can think of, actually, is Yeah, you're
much.
never going to get a rifle better than this. It's amazing. But
it's not a dodgy
you know
old
what?
club gun that's been battered around. And
Exactly. She's not gone through that, so she has that, and it's awesome. You know, she does great.
Man.
So
awesome.
I actually get more enjoyment watching her shoot my dream rifle than I think I would shooting it personally, because it's nice doing nice things for yourself, but if you do nice things for someone else, that would be, it's always more enjoyable, I think.
Oh yeah, I'd second that. And notwithstanding my blatant sexism earlier in the call, the girls and ladies are actually amazing at shooting. I mean, amazing, better than the men per capita, it would seem. And I'll back that up for anybody who's just spat their beer out. I don't know her name, but there's a girl who is leading or just recently was leading the PRS ladder in the US. I think she's like 16, and she's
Alison Zane.
There you go, Alison Zane. I don't know if she's still up there, but she was beating all these guys. Some of them are ex-snipers, you know, professional. She's killing it. When I spoke to
Alison Zane is amazing. You watch. I'm hoping that she goes to France to represent the US team, because she's somebody, one, I'd love to meet, because her outlook and the way she applies herself is amazing, especially for somebody so young. But also when you watch her shoot, she's calm. She never looks rushed, never looks flustered. She does everything correctly. And it's amazing. Though having a hunting and shooting background coming into PRS is an advantage, you also pick up bad habits when you don't know what you don't know. And I've noticed this with watching my other half shoot, is she's only ever been shown the right way. You watch her shoot and every shot is really well executed. And she won't be rushed. One of my pals described her as being one of life's naturally calm and still people. And I think that applies more to female shooters than blokes, because
it does seem that way. I mean, we spoke to, on this very podcast, we spoke to Frank Galley, who's seen by many as the godfather of precision rifle shooting. And he said, I can't remember exactly where, you'd have to go back and listen to it, but he said effectively the same thing, that they're not affected by the ego as much. Rex Reviews said exactly the same thing. There's no, what do you call it? Either the testosterone factor or the Y chromosome.
I get what you mean.
There's this thing that guys get, you know, this macho thing, like, oh, it's my turn. I've got to win, and it's got to look right. And it's. I think it's how we get it wrong a little bit. The girls don't seem to have that.
It's awesome, and seeing more lady shooters come in. I mean, the last PRS UK shoot we had, Daisy was shooting as well. And I know some of the other guys, some of the regular PRS shooters, their other halves have started to, they've picked up the 2-2 and gone and had a practice with the 2-2. So I'd really hope that we can see more lady shooters coming along and shooting. It would be good. That would be awesome. Definitely. It calms the boys down as well.
Right. Well, if your missus is there watching, you're gonna be on your best behavior, isn't it?
She's the worst influence on me.
Nice. Okay, well that's good. That's definitely some way we could grow the sport, and I think that's critical. And the same with youth shooters as well. And I think the 22 helps with that, because it's not a savage recoil. You know, it's not annoyingly loud or heavy or anything that puts off first time shooters while you're still getting hooked in.
I'm really looking forward to taking my best mate's eldest to go and shoot at a club as soon as he's old enough. He's going to come along and shoot. I think he'll be just as excited as the rest of us, but it's just going to be cool bringing him along to have a go. So that'll be awesome. That'll be super awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting getting other people into the sport. It's you get a kick out of it. So we'll go through a couple of like rapid fire questions then, I guess, just to sort of round it out. it's a bit of a trite question, this one. I never quite know how to phrase it. if you could only take one bit of kit or one critical bit of kit to your match, what would it be? I mean, everybody takes a lot of kit. Don't get me wrong. I know that it takes a lot of kit. You got your supports, your bipods, your bags, you got your Kestrel, you got your whatever. But what if you could? What is the one thing you could not do without, and that someone should definitely go and invest in?
So, if you're looking to start an open mind, you don't need all. Everybody carries so much kit. You don't need half of it.
Right.
Just turn up with what you've got. Be prepared to learn, because it's a steep learning curve. And go do it. For me, I always think of what would I turn around to get if I got where I was shooting and didn't have it. For me, it's my Kestrel. Yeah. I genuinely, I would be lost without it, because it tells me what I need to do. Without that, I'd struggle. I'd probably have to borrow somebody else's Kestrel and put my profile on theirs to figure it out. But also, the caveat with that, and anybody who's shot with me knows this, Haribo giant strawberries.
Crucial kit. Everyone knows this.
Morale in a bag. So I was out in Nevada in March, and I shot an NRL 22X match and a club match, and I introduced some of Matt Hornback's club members and other shooters to Haribo giant straws, which aren't common in America at all, and Freddo frogs.
Freddo frogs, yes.
And they went down so well, and I think they then realised why Brits stereotypically have bad teeth.
Yeah, that's right. That's why all their teeth are falling out. Yeah, there's one. There's a nice one in Australia that you don't see as much, which is caramello koala. Excuse me. It's like a Freddo frog with caramel. Freaking amazing. It's amazing. Anyway, and Tim Tams. That's another one that I pine for. So were you out there just recently in Nevada a second time?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. I went out sort of post-COVID, flew out with my 6mm and got into Reno late on the Thursday night, helped Matt and the guys set the match up on the Friday, borrowed Matt's 2.2 to shoot the NRL 22X. Didn't shoot well with his 22, so got to drinking with some of the NorCal Rifle Club and the Avenal Tactical guys, and waking up slightly hungover on Sunday morning after having a McDonald's breakfast and shooting my own rifle. I pulled it together for the second, for the full ball match, and I shot okay actually. I was third. I was a point behind Matt, which meant I still had to buy him a steak dinner. But I'll take the moral victories. He's still one of the best rifle shooters I've ever shot with.
Brilliant, yeah.
That was cool.
Nice.
I enjoyed it. It was great. And every time I go, every time you shoot anywhere out of your normal area, it's a huge learning curve. And in America, PRS has matured, and they're so slick. Everybody goes through so fast. You know, somebody's spotting, somebody's picking up brass, somebody's scoring, and the next two shooters are getting ready to go. And it's so slick and quick. And when you're in the desert, you want to start early and finish early, or you're going to get fried.
Yeah, of course. So
that was cool. No, it was great. It was nice. I'd like to go back and make that an annual visit, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Is it pricey? Is it expensive to do the whole trip?
Yeah. So you've got to fly out there. If you're flying with your own rifle, there's an extra cost. So you have to book an extra bag and pay a premium for taking a firearm.
Yeah.
Plus an extra bag for your ammunition, because they can't travel together, especially if you're flying out of London.
Oh, okay.
Ignore what the airlines say. The airlines will tell you.
They lie.
Yeah, they'll tell you they can, but no, the UK airport authorities won't allow you to fly with ammunition in the same case as a firearm.
Right, okay.
Don't know why it's their rule, but it's also their airport, and they don't have to let you in if they don't want to. So yeah, be prepared for that. And then fly out, and it's like it's like an expensive holiday. Then
Sure.
it's a holiday to America, but you're taking a firearm instead of your spouse.
Yeah. That sounds like a better
Next
trip.
year we're taking both.
Yes,
So
quick,
it'd be cool.
before the divorce papers come through.
Oh.
Hurry up. Okay, and if you had to pick just one match in the UK to shoot, which one would it be?
Oh, you know what? I couldn't pick just one.
Yeah.
Generally,
What about a good one for a beginner? If you're recommending for a beginner, where would you say?
Any of them.
There we go. Nice and broad. Okay.
Genuinely, no, they're all so good for their own reasons. I mean,
Okay.
Pro Shoot over in Wales,
Yeah.
they're limited at the moment to 600 yards because of their range danger template.
Okay.
But they make up for that in other ways because they're predominantly a practical shooting area. So they've got some of the most awesome barricades ever, like the front of Land Rovers and also like sheep. We shot out a sheep trailer last time. That's cool.
Very nice.
You go to a Ryan in Wales, and it's beautiful Welsh mountain scenery is awesome. They've got well-established massive targets. Gardeners up in Scotland. Again, they're on such a massive plot of forestry land. They've got targetry up, down, left, right, down through tree lines and all sorts. And it's great. Every match is awesome. In Silverstone Shooting Centre, where the NRL 22 is, it's a 100-yard gallery range with a 2-2. But again, they're a practical shooting centre, so they know how to put barricades out and run matches. Everything runs so fast and so smoothly. So every match has it. Just if you want to get into it, don't try and pick one. Just go to your nearest one, get stuck in. Don't buy anything before you go. If you need anything, I'll guarantee you anybody at any precision rifle match will lend you the gear that you need to do it.
Okay.
And just book on, tell them it's your first time and enjoy it.
Nice. Can you show up and observe? I think in some places you can do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in fact, pretty much everywhere allows spectators.
Okay.
At the PRS, they'll even feed you. I think it's 15 quid, and you get lunch provided as well. So turn up and watch, see what it's all about. It's for the community aspect, I think, is my favorite. And that's what makes it. There's such an awesome core of regular precision rifle shooters who it's probably the same 10 to a dozen people will be at pretty much every match.
Okay.
And everybody has a very similar outlook in wanting to encourage new shooters and help your squad, help get things through, and just portray UK shooting in the best light possible. And that's what makes it, in all honesty. Nice.
In your just to skip across to something else for a second, in your job with Highland Outdoors, you're obviously seeing a lot of different brands, a lot of different aspects of the shooting industry, not just PRS. What are the trends that you're seeing? What's the future of the shooting industry generally, and what are the sort of up and coming products and trends that you're seeing?
There's been the past couple of years, we've seen more of a leaning and more of a trend towards a tactical style rifle.
Okay.
10 years ago, a Macmillan stock was considered a tactical thing, and people would look at you a bit sideways if you turned up to go shoot deer with it. Now there's guys, and I'm one of them, shooting deer with rifles that have chassis on, carbon fiber chassis. And the tactical thing seems to be sort of coming through, and sort of an offshoot of that is the lightweight tactical, precision type rifle, high accuracy rifle that you can also pack on your back and carry to the top of a hill. Because it weighs 12 pounds instead of 25. So seeing that, guns seem to be sort of polarizing. They're going from big, heavy, static type rifles to super duper light, and everything. Two quite contrasting styles that are also quite similar, and the long range thing, and Hornady, when they pushed 6.5 Creedmoor into the mainstream, made long range ability so accessible for so many people, because 6.5 Creedmoor is easy to shoot, it's easy to reload for, and it's made long range shooting very, very accessible, and people are wanting to push further and further. I mean, if you think back even 5-6 years ago, you wouldn't think in 5 years' time there would be competitions where, with a 2.2, where a 350-yard target, like in the NRL 22X, is just a run-of-the-mill thing. Nobody bats an eyelid. It's 350 yards with a 2.2 rimfire, and nobody cares. They expect to hit it.
Yeah,
that's cool. Seeing the advancement, like having 2.2s that will drop into these cool like tactical chassis.
Yeah,
it's great. Again, that's making it affordable and attainable for everything. So I think in the hunting world we're seeing a lot more lightweight mountain style rifles. The sports shooting sector, target shooting sector, rifles are getting sort of going down towards that tactical style. And then of course I think with a lot of us facing the lead free, that could potentially change everything. So there could be a lot. I think that we're going to see more changes with ammunition. Lead-free ammunition will allow a longer bullet. If you can get a rifle that will stabilize it, could we see a trend for super fast twist barrels, like a 1-in-4 twist?
Okay.
Shooting super long copper monolithics. Who knows? Let's see what goes on. So there's some really cool things. There's some super cool things happening. And it's exciting. I think we're genuinely in an exciting time for shooters in general. There's been an explosion of products. Definitely. Oh, hugely. A lot of technological advancements. Thermal imaging is something we're big on at work. With the thermal gear we sell, and deerstalkers won't leave home without the thermal spotter.
Right.
And you explain this to guys outside of the UK, and they're like, especially the American, it blows their mind, because although you can go out and hunt in America, obviously there's the tag system and the other restrictions. We've got guys going out shooting a dozen deer in a day with a thermal spotter and every advantage they can get on the roof of the pickup, you name it. And that would be totally frowned upon in other countries, but that's going to be exciting. I mean, you think how night vision in the military world and the thermal imaging in the military and the that sector in the police military sector has progressed. Where's it going to end for the civilian side? You think traditionally civilian shooting has been at the forefront over the military, because the military training budgets generally don't allow everything, and the militaries around the world seek a lot of training from the civilian sector. Well, what would happen if the civvies got hold of all this awesome tech gear as well? So that's going to be exciting too.
A lot of it seems to filter down eventually. It takes its time. We have to wait, but it seems like we get a lot of stuff.
It's cool. It's definitely exciting. So let's see. And we'll revisit this in a few years and see where we're at.
We'll have to do a catch up and see how the predictions panned out. No, it'll be cool. It'd be very interesting to see where we are in 5 years and 10 years time from now with shooting. If we are we actually still able to shoot? That seems a very real risk. Not
just in the UK, the world over, there's people who want to stop private firearms ownership, and we're privileged. Let's enjoy it whilst we can and just
100%.
Do it.
Which brings me, not to put words in your mouth, but brings me to the final question. I think it's pretty time to wrap up. I just want to point out to everybody who's listening, a massive thank you to Ryan. It's Friday night It's well past beer o'clock and relaxing time. And he's on the call with us, just gone 9 o'clock. Just massively appreciate you taking the time to do that. So to round it out,
it's been awesome. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. We will definitely do it again. Definitely, you're a very knowledgeable man, and you're very, very plugged into the UK PRS scene. And beyond that, with your work and obviously you're very clearly very passionate about the sport. So it's been awesome talking to you, and I've learned a lot. We always ran out with a bit of a trickier question. Do you have an ethos or what I call words to live by that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, there's a couple. So if you're unsure about doing something, just jump in and do it. The only way, like shooting especially, the only way to learn how to do it, just jump in and do it. Right. But something that I always like to try and bear in mind when I'm shooting, and 99% of the time it's at the forefront, is, and I'll steal this from Jeremy Swanee from Swanee's Gear, is just have fun and shoot. It's meant to be fun. We do it because we enjoy it. Okay, we all want to shoot well. Doesn't always go that way. You know what? If you've still got a smile on your face when it's going badly, you're fun to be around. You're doing good things, and that, let's face it, a bad day shooting's better than a bad day at the office. So just go off and enjoy it.
Yeah, 100%.
That's literally just have fun and shoot. And yeah, that's Swanee's competition gear. That's their company motto, and I think it's fantastic.
You've been listening to the Tier 1 Podcast. Brought to you by Tier 1, makers of the world's finest rifle accessories. Find out more at tier-1-usa.com. And tune in for more great insights on the next episode.